Oh, yeah.
I don't know what that was, but that's staying in.
You can cut that one out.
Hello and welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. Hello. Oh, that was a dead one. Even I was bored like that. All right.
Hello, everybody.
Hello. Welcome back to the Cricket Nerds podcast. I'm James.
Hi, James.
I'm joined by Zach. How you doing, Zach?
What's up? Yeah, good.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
So today we're going to talk about...
No, I'm not having that. I'm not having that at all. That's just rude.
Oh, yeah, by popular demand, Jingle has returned.
So today we're just going to start off with a cheeky bit of discussion about England in the West Indies. So England, fresh out of an Ashes defeat, have come. They've got a new look squad for the T20s, and I think is it one apiece now, or is it 2-1? I can't remember how many of there have been.
2-1.
2-1 to West Indies after some terrifying striking from Rovman Powell, who got a century in like 50 odd balls. It was really, really impressive. And also Nick Pooran looked good, making his case for their IPL auction. Good to see.
Shame it doesn't do it for Kings 11 though, isn't it, James?
No, it doesn't. And then, yeah, England didn't do that well, really. Like we did all right with the bat, but with the ball, we've been looking dodgy. Even in the second match, which we won, we had Saqib Mahmood doing his very best to concede 30 runs in an over. He managed to get to 28. So death bowling continuing to be a problem. What are your thoughts, lads?
I mean, I think we're in a tough spot, aren't we? Because at the minute we've got half of the bowlers who you would want in that frontline attack in other countries. So if you look at our bowlers who are in the T20 World Cup, and bowling was a strong suit in the World Cup, I would say. Mark Wood, Chris Wokes are both over in Australia on the way over to West Indies for the Test series, and they're managing their workload because they're in that Test squad. And then I did enjoy seeing Mills back in the squad, but then you've got David Willey, for example. He's now over in Pakistan for the Pakistan Super League. So our bowlers are sort of spread out and quite sparse. There's no Matt Parkinson, who I'd quite like to see in that setup. I was a bit sad about Mahmood and his performance with the ball, because he's always been quite an exciting bowler, I found. I think axing him after two T20s was maybe a little bit harsh, which did leave us with the all left arm pace seam attack with Mills, Garton and Reece Topley. So there was no variation there. I thought it's nice to have that difference between the two. But yeah, I think we were just struggling, weren't we? I think we looked a bit lackluster in that, especially with the ball in that third T20. Liam Livingstone didn't look too good. I think he's probably still recovering a bit from illness. But I don't know, there were shades of hope, but I think, that bowling attack definitely, it's a bit crippled, I would say.
It's a weird one that England had two bowlers bowling at less than 8 and over, and the others going at over 13 and over. Adil Rashid 4 overs for 25, Reece Topley 4 overs for 30. It's like, that's really good. And if you had 2 or 3 of the bowlers who did that, West Indies are getting nowhere near 224. And I don't think it was necessarily West Indies targeting bowlers in particular, because that's not what West Indies do. They just go against everyone, really. They try and hoik everything for 6. It's their way of playing. And when it pays off, they're going to get massive scores. That's what's going to happen. And you've got to have the skills to deal with it. So although it's disappointing that our bowlers haven't done that well, I still think it's good because they're young and they're still learning. yeah, that's it's good for them to be in this situation against big players who are going to go at you. Tim Mills, I struggle with him because I think there was a period in the T20 World Cup where they're like, we need Mills in, and it's good that we've got Tyrell Mills, but it's like he doesn't perform at the international stage. He hasn't really. He's done a little bit, but he's just
he's not really had a chance.
Too many runs. He's like a Tom Curran, right? He's got all the skills. He's got the ability to bowl really well in 2020 cricket, but then he still manages to go at over 10 and over. He's not reliable. He's not like Jofra Archer, who will go at about 7 over maximum. He's not like that, and that's kind of what we're saying he is.
I'd say that's slightly unfair for Mills, because I think he showed himself a fantastic part of the team at the World Cup. I think once England lost that left arm option, that real express pace option, we did really struggle. I mean, if you look at in the first T20, he went for his economy was 6.3. So he was looking all right in that first T20, doing his best to contain. I mean, Akil Hussain in the second, he didn't play the second T20, but Hussain came out and just flayed it around all the parts, and as did the chap in the third test. What's his name? I can't remember. Powell. He just flayed it to all parts of the ground, didn't he? I think Tamar Mills has definitely proved himself in the Blast. He's definitely proved himself at the franchise level. He had a fantastic 100, and he definitely was on form at the first half of the T20 World Cup. It's just a shame at how much injuries hampered his career. He to me is like another Reece Topley, where like Reece Topley would have been a mainstay in the England side, I believe, over the last sort of 5-6 years, had it not been for him being injured in 2016. That's why there's been such a gap between his international appearances. And it's a strange thing, isn't it, for us to be sitting here and talking about how poor the England bowling attack is, which is generally we're saying, our bowling's all right, it's our batting that's awful.
Yeah. Well, that's the difference between the red ball and white ball, isn't it? And I think there are definite good signs with the bowling. Like Reece Topley looks brilliant, and that's and I think in general Timor Mills shows signs of promise. I haven't seen great things from George Garton of late. I think he's good. He shows promise, but wasn't impressed by his performance. But yeah, I think overall, our white ball bowling, it is the death bowling that has been an issue for a long time, in the same way that our batting in red ball has been an issue for a long time. So I've got an opinion about Saqib Mahmood. I think that he would be a better red ball bowler than he would a white ball bowler. I look at him, I see a methodical action, and I think there's someone that he could hit the spot, and he's been getting quicker over the last few years as he's getting older. He's sort of more consistently hitting those 90 mile an hour. So I want to know what your opinions are. Is Saqib Mahmood a red ball, does he look like a red ball prospect, a white ball prospect, or is he a cross format genius?
Ideally, he'd be a cross format genius. If you look at his domestic record, he's played 25 first class games, got 70 wickets at an average of 27.9, played 34 list A matches, 64 wickets, which were really good, played 56 T20s and taken 72 wickets, which is also really good. So he's good in all formats. He's not messed up in any of them. I think it's just the transition. He's only played a handful of matches in both international one days and international 2020s. And again, England failed with their fast bowlers in terms of managing their workloads. And I think that would be the key, to see how well England can manage their workloads. They don't want to be too reserved with him, but at the same time, they don't want to push him too much and just say, right, you can bowl fast, let's throw you in the test team, and then that ruins his career. So yeah, it takes some managing, but I think there's no reason why he couldn't do well in all formats.
I agree, and as would David Lloyd Bumble. He has been pushing for Mahmood and Livingston to be included in the test squad for nearly a year now. I agree. He has that methodical action and he's quick, and he is really impressive. I think he's definitely a prospect. It's almost a shame that he wasn't in this last touring squad. Maybe it's just not the right time in his career. We don't want to, rush him into the limelight like maybe we have with people like Dom Sibley or Ollie Pope. So possibly there's a bit of, actually, we should nurture this guy. We should really develop him in that first class scene, get him to be a class Red Bull player domestically, and then push him to that test match status. I mean, is this a good segue to move on to our county championship chat?
Well, I guess it segues nicely into who we want to see in the West Indies for England's test matches, which are coming up soon.
I'm not sure how I feel about Liam Livingston being a Red Bull player, though. I don't think he's got the technique for it, personally.
He needs to prove himself in counties first.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, he definitely needs to prove himself there. I think I would like to see some fresh faces for the Red Bull side, but also there are going to be some people that are just guaranteed to get a place. We've got Stokes, Root, Bairstow that have
he's fit,
got their places if they can take them. Don't want to see Haseeb Hamid. I don't think. Just let him fester in counties for another 3 years, facing Darren Stevens, and then he can come back. I don't want to see Burns either, particularly. I'd like to have 2 new openers. I think Crawley either an opener or at 3, one of those. Milan, I'm not sure about, because when he was at the start of the Ashes, he was playing like a man that, like, he was wanting to score shots. He was wanting to play some shots, score some runs. And then as time went on, he sort of, I don't know, he drifted a bit. He turned into someone that was playing to stay in, and he doesn't do well in that situation. He looked like more of a victim. He looked like more of a Haseeb Hamid. And it didn't do well for him. Like, you saw his scores just plummet from, like, he got a couple of 80s to suddenly he was getting single figures. So, yeah, I think if David Milan comes in with the intention to score, then he gets a place. If he doesn't, then someone new, please. Ben Folkes.
Bring back Sibley.
Oh, don't.
I mean,
going off what James has said, it's quite difficult because we're just thinking, well, who are the options to bring in? Because if we keep axing players, then it's like, well, there's no one left. And we could revisit old players, because I know there are certain players who are still doing well in the county championship who we've used before. For example, Keaton Jennings, he's doing all right in the county championship, but he's doing average. And Alistair Cook's doing very well. We'll bring him back.
Yes, Chef. Bring back Chef.
Yeah. Why not Marcus Trescothick? I feel like he'd do a pretty good job.
Kevin Beaton's been doing well in the Legends League.
Yeah, so there's lots of people we could return to. And I think that the issue with the younger players, like Hamid, for example, we went to Hamid because we were like, we're starved of openers. If we were in this position where Rory Burns and Dom Sibley were settled and Zach Crawley was the backup, then Hamid wouldn't have been brought in. We would have been like, okay, the best thing for Hamid is he's had a good season. We want to see him do that for 2 more seasons, and then we'll bring him into the side. And what we're doing is there are some young players in the county championship. There's Rob Yates, who plays for the Lions. There's a guy for Surrey called Jamie Smith. I think he's up and coming. There's a few others, but they're too young to be brought in. So it's like, okay, do we go for experience, which is awful and averages 30, or do we go for, or even less than 30, or do we go for inexperience and hope that they can average at least 35? And it's a hard one because I don't think we have that. And also, we're not in the time when we used to be able to think, okay, we're playing Bangladesh, we're playing Sri Lanka, we're playing New Zealand. Let's get in some younger players and give them a go and see how they do. Because every single game now is a challenge. Playing the West Indies is now going to be a challenge. And so bringing players in, it's going to be difficult.
I like how you referred to the World Test champions as, we're playing New Zealand, let's bring the younger kids in.
Well, that's what it used to be. We used to thrash New Zealand all the time.
It did. Now they are the World Test Championship, the World Test champions. So it's an interesting one. I think that focus, and I think you guys spoke about it a bit on the last podcast, but that focus on the county championship and having that as a developing ground at the highest level of English cricket for new red ball players, for our future test squad, is really what that needs to be. And at the minute, we can see that it isn't. I mean, we have had a couple of difficult 2 years. So, with the Bob Willis Trophy having to be done twice, I mean, that was a fantastic event. It really was excellent for that, a great nod to a fantastic player and commentator and sports person in Bob Willis. But I think
how many people watched it?
I didn't watch any of the final. I'll give you that.
I didn't watch any of the matches.
I watched a few of the kind of championship matches. Well, the NOTS matches, because
watching the website.
They're on in the background. They're all on YouTube. But I think with the red ball game, like, we've not had our divisional setup for 2 years, and the last 2-3 years is when the English test side have been really struggling. So, we haven't got divisions so that we actually split out the elite and the non-elite. Now, we've got to a point now where those divisions are now back in place with Division 1, 2, 3. Knots have been cheated out of Division 1.
Well, it's just Divisions 1 and 2. There isn't a third division.
Oh, is it just 1 and 2? I thought there were 3.
No.
But I mean, and I know we're going to come on to talk a bit more about the county championship, aren't we? But like, that new setup, I think is I don't know, potentially, I don't really know much about it. I think Zach, you're the expert on all these red ball things here.
Well, I'm going to get into a bit of a rant, really, because like we joke about Darren Stevens, but it's ridiculous. Like, how is the pitches that we produce in the county championship are suited for a 45, maybe older bowler to do well, and someone like Saqib Mahmood, who's trying to bowl pace, can't get anything out of the pitch, or it's not suited for his style of bowling. And it's like we're doing something wrong there because we're not nurturing our younger, exciting players. We're catering for the 45-year-olds who are never going to. Well, who knows? Darren Stevens might get a game for England. You never know at this stage.
This is England cap at 48.
That would be tragic. But what they've done is they have moved the championship around because they've now got it. They previously had it before early June, and then after August, which was really difficult for the England players trying to make their way into the Test 11. But now what they've done instead is they've made it so that there'll be county championship games which take place before the series against New Zealand and before the home series against South Africa, so that the England players who aren't that big on white ball cricket can spend that time with their counties practicing the red ball cricket. And it's a really good idea. And they've shortened the blast window, so the T20 blast is going to take less time, which allows more time for county championship. And they've also changed the final of the Royal London One Day Cup. It's still staying at Trent Bridge, but it's no longer on a Thursday. It's now on a Saturday. Because no one's going to watch a final on a Thursday, are they? It's ridiculous. So yeah, they've made a few changes. I'm not sure if it's going to make a difference. I think the difference comes what the pitch is going to be like. That's a big thing for me.
I think if you're playing at the test match venues, the pitches are good. So when you're at Trent Bridge, Headingley, Old Trafford, Lords, you get great pitches which do things. I mean, they still suit English conditions. So, the James Andersons of the world can come in and get 6 for nothing without even trying. It's like it's suited for that type of cricket. And yeah, English conditions, we have traditionally always produced good swing and seam bowlers rather than just raw pace. That's been the way of the English, hasn't it, really? Because we haven't got those flat, hard pitches like they do in Australia. And that, again, is a little bit to do with our weather. Like, you know, we can't change the weather. The weather is a real big thing for trying to get a dry, hard pitch. So because we have that added amount of moisture, because it's a very moist nation, isn't it, really, as a whole?
Moist as Tom Sibley's batting.
Yeah, we were a moist nation. Quote from Benji Miller. Cheers to that, mate.
That's going to get left in, isn't it?
Absolutely, it's all getting left in.
Should we finish there? Should we finish?
Yeah, you know what?
Quote.
Thanks very much for watching, guys. Subscribe, like, follow at Cricket Nerds Pod on all social medias. And I mean, watch again. Hopefully, Benji won't talk about that again in the next pod, but you'll have to watch it and see.
Cool. Thank you, everyone.
Yeah. Cheers, guys.
Bye.